morning, everybody. If you would, please come on in and take your seats, and we'll get started. We're going to ask the leader of administration to open us up with a word of prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you please, y'all please pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity for us to serve. As we begin the Lenten season, we keep you and your Son, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, top of mind. We are on a busy crossover day today with a lot of stress, anxiety, hard work that's been put in. Please help us remember to keep you first, to love one another, and do all things in service to you. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Okay. We can tell our blue sheets picking up. We got a lot of things to be considered. We're going to try to get to everybody and let you be heard this morning. For those of you that are presenting, if you would please, before you start, tell us the bill number and where it's located on the blue sheet so that we can find that, and it'll make it go easier, and brevity is good. So let's go ahead. Thank you. Come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to the committee. I'm here to present House Bill 502, which you can find on page 5 of the blue sheet, about a third of the way down. And what this bill does is it takes the wait time guessing game out of voting for parents with small children. If you have a child under the age of 2 and you go to vote and there's a long line, it allows you to go to the front of the line. It merely removes an obstacle that some people might consider a barrier to voting. It has been voted out of committee for the last 3 years unanimously.
Okay, don't see any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. I am working off House Bill 146. It is the very first bill on your blue sheet. I am here this morning to actually share with you a very simple bill that came before you last year. It is designating the month of April as Black Women's History Month, but not just Black women, but all minority women. And I am passionate about this because I do a lot of work with young girls, and I really want to be able to encourage them to gain an understanding and an awareness, and to embrace the many achievements that are made and continue to be made in science, engineering, mathematics, and technology. And by the way, the creator of this celebration is a native Atlantan. She received a proclamation from of several cities over the last 6 years, and she was also honored by Governor Nathan Deal with a commendation. That's the bill.
Okay, don't see any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me make clarification. If you have already asked for your bill one time, you do not have to ask for it again. And I think some of you may have gotten an email saying to ask for it again, but that's not so. If you have asked for your bill one time, you don't need to ask for it again. But if you haven't asked for it, you're welcome to get in line and ask. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Mr. Chair, I have 2 bills that were passed out of committee, submitted to rules, but haven't made the sheet yet. Can I?
I'm sorry, say again.
No. Yes, they're on the yellow sheet.
Okay, go ahead and ask for them. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so today I present House Bill 10, and this is a bill that simply strengthens the protections for individuals who've been arrested but never convicted of a crime, removing their booking arrest photo, like their mugshot, from the Remove for Pay website. The media can still post the arrest photos. It's HB 10.
Okay, thank you. Did you say you had another one?
Yes, and the second bill is HB 311 that seeks to amend the state's code by removing the age cap of 70 for people that are still working beyond the age of 70. So the code says 70, and we just want to take that code off.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let me remind you also, a lot of bills came out yesterday. These bills will not be eligible until the clerk reads them today and accepts that. So you may run into this, but if anybody's here and they want to present the bill, we're going to go ahead and do that since we're getting sort of toward time crunch here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 7, the 7th bill down, House Bill 657, Georgia's a national leader when it comes to supporting our neighbors that are in recovery of different types. In fact, we've got the second highest number of RCOs in the country here, second only behind Texas. So this bill comes at the request of Georgia Recovery Council and DBHDD that would certify certified peer specialists, the different types, how they would become certified. It defines what a recovery community organization is and lays out some basic operating requirements for them so that it protects the integrity of this network, so that we make sure when people are in recovery and they need that support from their peers that we know that they're getting quality care and that it's consistent across the state.
Don't see any questions.
Thank you,
ma'am.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairman. Members of the committee, I have HB 217. It's second page on the blue sheet, or in the middle. This was recommitted to committee. There were some concerns by Speaker Pro Tem that we've perfected some language on here, but this is a dual achievement program with the TCSG, basically allowing students who have withdrawn from high school to go back and earn their high school diploma, as well as some technical certificates.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. One question.
Representative, is it true that this bill has a sunset, which makes it timely to pass it, and it is an agency/governor's bill?
That's correct. It is, so it's a pilot program that we enacted 4 years ago. It's going to end at the end of this year, so we're extending it another 5 years with this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. My bill is House Bill 88, page 1. It would provide student loan forgiveness for vet technicians, where we have a shortage of veterinarian technicians in the state of $150,000 for 5 students, $30,000 apiece. It
Okay.
mirrors House Bill 172 that we passed unanimously for veterinarians, but we also have a shortage of vet technicians in the state. Thank you.
Thank you. No questions. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring to you this morning House Bill 638. It's on the top of page 7. It's the very first bill. And I'm bringing this bill on behalf of MARTA. I want to especially thank the Pro Tem for her assistance in perfecting this bill, as well as Chairman Jaspers for hearing this bill late Tuesday night especially. This bill is going to allow MARTA to use cameras on their buses to enforce their bus rapid transit lanes that have been designated by the City of Atlanta to be used specifically for transit. These would restrict the violations of the lanes to only parked vehicles. Only parked vehicles would be, if issued a citation. There would be a 6-month warning period, an education period for the community before anything would start. Specifies specific signs be put up to alert people of this, in addition to the education program. The fines would be identical to the distracted driving bill and would be limited to those amounts only, no additional administrative fees. There is a sunset of 5 years on this bill if this doesn't work, but this will allow them to hopefully, like I said, enforce their bus rapid transit lanes, since we do have a lot of great events coming to Atlanta. Are there any questions?
Don't see any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the committee. Page 4, 7 spaces from the bottom, House Bill 442. What this bill does here is it help us take full advantage of the film industry that we have created here in Georgia by allowing our young people to participate by giving them a max of 25 days of absence from school. When there's a contractual agreement, the discretion of the administration there allows it, and there's a certified teacher on set to make sure that that child is receiving the work. Right now, we're bringing in a lot of children from California and Texas here to Georgia to do movie sets because of the 10-day restriction we currently have. And that's the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you. Don't see any questions. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Page 3, second from the bottom, HB 383. This is the Georgia High School NIL Protection Act, and this bill codifies what's in place by the athletic associations for high school student athletes and puts a sunset on contracts that high school athletes currently have, so that when they finish high school, that contract ends, and then they renegotiate contracts at the next level.
Okay, don't see any questions. Thank you. Yes, sir. Ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the top of page 8, the very top, House Resolution 174 is a constitutional amendment that would move our state school board from being appointed by the governor to being elected in the same manner that we elect the DOT board currently. The state school board would then recruit and hire the state school superintendent.
Okay, don't see any questions. Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Marshall.
Morning, Chairman. Page 8, fourth bill down, House Resolution 450. This would authorize putting a question on the 2026 ballot, asking Georgians if they wanted to legalize mobile online sports betting only.
Okay, we do have a question for you. Chairman Stevens has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to make sure that I'm clear of what I'm voting on. Am I voting for Hope and pre-K money?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, no other questions. Thank you.
One other.
Yes, sir.
If you flip back to page 7, almost 2/3 the way down, HB 686, this would be the enabling language should that constitutional amendment pass.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Chairman Yoder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you House Bill 439. It's on page 4, about the middle. House 439 relates to the compensation of dealers and merchants for reporting and paying taxes and the reimbursement deduction. This is your local hardware store or boutique or restaurant. In 2024, there was a study committee that looked at the impacts of sales and excise tax and merchant fees on card processing, and one of the things they recommended was to support small business by raising the vendor's compensation. Right now, the vendor's compensation is 3% of the first $3,000. This bill raises it to the first 3% of $10,000, and it remains 0.5% over $10,000. So it's just the first 3% of the $10,000. Asked the Revenue Department, they had not vendors' compensation had not been raised in at least 20 years. This bill would help with small businesses' bottom line, and I think it's really good timing with Hurricane Helene. A lot of small businesses suffering from that also. Thank you.
Okay, don't see any questions. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Franklin, Representative Franklin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is House Bill 357. It's on page 9, second down. And this basically gives a tax credit to Habitat for Humanity up to $10 million a year with the sunset, and their affiliates are capped at $2 million. I'm happy to go into more details of the bill if you'd like, but they were out here yesterday doing their first ever Capitol build, and I hope many people will be able to see it. But there's many benefits in this, but one of them would be in an effort to address the workforce housing in this state. So happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, don't see any questions. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman Cannon.
House Bill 330, bottom of page 8. House Bill 330 is sort of a cleanup bill for some of our state income tax credit programs, more specifically for the law enforcement tax credit program, known as LESS, and also the Peach education tax credit. The bill also adds some uniformity to both programs in order to mirror some existing tax programs. If you recall, we made some of these changes to Georgia Heart last year. And the Peach and Georgia Heart and the LESS Act all have similar technical language to include the sunset date extensions, the pre-approval requirements, and similar caps for qualified contributions. So overall, a few changes to the Peach and law enforcement programs, but we also add in language that achieves some uniformity across several of the tax credit programs. Any questions, Mr. Chairman?
You got a question for us, Speaker Pro Tem.
I had a question. What is the cap lifted from and to on each one?
For the education, it's from 15 to 20 million.
And we raised it to 15 last year
That's
from
correct.
5.
The law enforcement would remain at 3, and qualified contributions for corporations would drop from 75 to 30%.
Thank you.
Okay, don't see any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Chairman Parrish and members of the Rules Committee, on page 8 under Structured Rule, House Bill 260 respectfully requests this bill, which is an increase in the state minimum homestead from $2,000 to $5,000. That would be the first increase since 1978. Appreciate the Speaker identifying this issue and Chairman Blackman's work with the Senate on this. Respectfully request that.
Okay, don't see any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And got a call from the Rules Office. I've already presented House Bills 531, 270, 318. Respectfully request those.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if I may, I have two bills. First bill is HB 390 on page 4. It's the first bill on the page, known as the HALO Act. What this bill seeks to do is provide protections for our first responders. What it does is it creates a felony violation for obstructing or hindering them from doing their official duties on the scene. There's already some provisions in the law to help protect our law enforcement, but what this bill does, it also brings in firefighters and emergency medical technicians or emergency medical professionals when they are performing their official duties on an active scene.
Okay, don't see any questions on that.
And the second bill, Mr. Chairman, if I may, is HB 602. It is on page 6, 7th down. It is our campus protest bill. This bill applies to students who receive state scholarships, loans, or grants such as HOPE to attend Georgia's public and private post-secondary educational institutions. It says that if you are such a recipient and are convicted of certain acts of violence, vandalism, and aggression, that you will lose financial support from the state for 1 semester subsequent to that. We're not talking here about peaceful protest. The conviction must be for fighting, violence, or similar unlawful behavior, damaging property forcefully and physically, violating others' access to buildings and events, and engaging in harassing behavior.
Okay. Got a couple of questions for you. Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the author over here.
Oh, sorry.
Hi. So I want to understand what we're trying to do with this bill. Obviously, I would not be sitting in this chamber had it not been for students who protested, who were arrested, who were beaten, who were accused of being disruptive and accused of being violent. My concern is this. If a student on a campus violates the criminal code, gets arrested, gets convicted, gets sentenced, gets suspended or expelled from school, why do we also need to take away their financial support? Don't we want that student to reintegrate back into an educational setting?
We do. What this is another step, another tool for the university system, TSG, and our private institutions. We've seen over the past year protests that's gone on campus and at times have gone unruly. This is not going after peaceful protests. This is not telling students you cannot protest, you cannot have your voice heard. But once the line is crossed and there are certain crimes you commit, you will lose hope if convicted for 1 semester.
Thank you.
Whip Park. Well, how about now?
I can hear you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman. Representative Fleming, is there a rule substitute on this bill?
I'm sorry?
Is there a rule substitute
sir.
on this bill?
No, sir.
Is it not true that the bill that passed the House Higher Ed Committee would make booing, hissing, and a sit-in under this bill? Would it not penalize it for that? Is that not considered peaceful protest in your mind?
If they are allowed to have a sit-in, they're allowed to have their protest. But once it becomes unlawful and there are laws broke, that is what this bill affects, Mr. Whip. And as you know, we had 3 committee hearings on this with lots of discussion and debate.
So to clarify for the record, this would take away financial aid for students who engage in peaceful civil disobedience?
No, only if they violate the law. No, sir.
Representative Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the author, following up on the last question, you do understand that you can peacefully violate the law. So when you say that a student can be penalized for otherwise unlawful behavior, if they are sitting in a place that they are not allowed to sit, even if they're not hitting anyone, even if they're not screaming, I think the civil rights taught us it's still unlawful and you can still be arrested. Is that your intention?
They can still have that peaceful protest. They can still have that peaceful sit-in.
How?
They
How?
can still.
Line 36, otherwise unlawful.
Okay. We're going to ask a question and we're going to answer a question, okay?
Could you please explain how a student can engage in peaceful but unlawful behavior and not be penalized under your bill, considering the line 36? Otherwise unlawful.
What our bill says, Representative, is we are not going after the First Amendment rights. We are not going after saying that they cannot do this. We're just saying once that line is crossed and laws are broken, that is what we're going after. We are allowing, it is allowed, that is your right to peaceful protest. That is your right to have your voice heard. That is right to have that. But it is once you cross that line and there are laws broke, that is what we're going after.
Any laws
to me,
broke.
To me, it's pretty simple. You can peaceful protest, and if you cross that line and it becomes unpeaceful or unruly, that is when this act will take effect.
Do you recognize that a lot of civil rights protests that led to a lot of rights being gained in this state and others were peaceful, but they were otherwise unlawful?
Yes, and we have seen over the past year with these protests on college campuses that there are many, many peaceful protests, and there are many, many times where students have had their voices heard, and they have followed the law. It is when that line is crossed and they are breaking the law.
Mr. Chairman, he's not answering my question. You can be peaceful and break the law. So just because you're being peaceful doesn't mean you're not breaking the law and doesn't mean you won't get arrested. And this bill would take away rights of those students who are doing exactly what I think you're saying you want them to be able to do, like those in the civil rights movement did, but you're still taking away their scholarship. Is that your intention?
Our intention is if you are unruly and you cross the line and you break the law and you're convicted of that crime, you're going to lose hope for the substance.
And the line is breaking the law, not being loud.
You have to go through the due process. You go through the trial and you have to be convicted.
Your bill doesn't do what you think it does. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I disagree with you.
Okay, here we go. We still got several questions, and obviously there's a lot of interest in this bill. I'm going to suggest that all of you that have questions get with the author and y'all have a conversation offline, and we'll go ahead and try to listen to some other folks here. Thank y'all. If you got one quick question.
Isn't it true, Mr. Chairman, that this does not take away hope? This means it takes away your ability to use hope in the next semester. That's a very important part. It does not take away hope. It takes away the ability to use hope.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you.
Here we go. All right, look. Y'all get together and have a conversation, okay? Thank you. Representative Stinson.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I bring to you House Bill 646, which is on modified structure, page 7 at the very top. House Bill 646 for corners, and we all have a corner, and our district provides minimum salaries for corners throughout the state of Georgia. That is House Bill 646.
Okay, no questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm here to present House Bill 668. It's a little on the middle of page 7. And what this bill sets to address is the fact that the statutes currently on the books in Georgia with respect to service animals and service dogs and training are extremely problematic because when they're overlaid with the Department of Justice final requirements set forth in those regulations, it causes a bunch of confusion as to what the applicability is. And this bill sets to address all of those issues and bring Georgia in alignment with surrounding states and federal statute. With that, I'd be happy to take questions.
Okay, don't see any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I presented House Bill 461 previously, so I'd also like to ask.
Okay, don't have to ask for that again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Happy crossover. I was asked to present House Bill 506. I've already presented that previously, so I'll skip that one and go to House Bill 728, which is needs to be read by the clerk again. House Bill 728 provides confidence and clarity to our state election officials, but more importantly, to our voters by requiring any rules and regs issued by the State Elections Board within 75 days of an election don't go into effect until 30 days after the election.
This one hasn't been read yet.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Sains.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm on page 8, third from the bottom, House Bill 266. In collaboration with Representative Ballard and Chairman Shaw, I bring to you a substitute to House Bill 266, which would double the military retirement income tax exemption, going from $17,500 to $35,000, with a gradual tax year increase of $5,000 starting in tax year 2027.
Thank you. Don't see any questions.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Rules. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy crossover day. My bill is not on the blue sheet. If it was, it would have been on page 4 between HB 461 and HB 466. I would like to ask for HB 464. HB 464. I would like to ask for HB 464.
Okay, it hadn't come out yet, right?
No, we just made it out of committee.
Okay, thank you.
May I continue? HB 464 simply provides protection for individuals who are victims of sexual crimes or violent crimes, so they can report those crimes without penalties or prosecution, or being afraid that they too will be drawn into court and be prosecuted or witness jail time. So simply providing victims protection so they will no longer or continue to be victimized. Thank you.
Okay, good. No questions. Thank you.
It came out of the Judicial Non-Civil.
Thank you.
I yield the will.
I put a star by that. Thank you. I guess if you don't ask, you don't get, right? Okay, how about, wait a minute, one more here. Come on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On last page, second to the bottom, House Bill 577, this creates a state-level solution to the vape issue that we've seen with illegal disposable Chinese vapes flooding the market.
Don't see any questions. Thank you, sir. Okay, any members of the committee have requests? Okay, we got a couple. Chair Lady Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 717 on page 7, near down close to the bottom. The Board of Medicine has asked for this. We are having clinics popping up all over our state which are using an off-label drug and injecting it to cause, supposedly help with depression, but the drug causes hallucinations and out-of-body experiences and extremely likely to affect the respiratory system and leading to a possible death. They're totally unregulated, and this would put regulations around them just like we did on pain clinics.
Okay, thank you. Don't see any questions. Chairman Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bring to you House Bill 586, page 9, very last bill on the blue sheets. And I want the attention of all the entrepreneurs in the room and that might be listening to us online, because every entrepreneur knows what I'm about to refer to. Because House Bill 586 extends the current exemption on intangibles recording tax on recorded security deeds from 3 years to 7 years. Currently, banks make 35-month loans and renew every 3 years to avoid this tax on the borrower. This measure would allow longer loans and give interest rate certainty to the borrower, and thereby reduce paperwork on both the borrower and the banker. Since this tax is currently being avoided because of these 3-year reserves, and this is important, there will be very minimal fiscal impact to the local governments which collect this tax. There's no fiscal impact to the state. It comes with a strong support from our banking community and no objections from both either the credit unions, ACCG, or GMA. It simply offers interest rate certainty to the borrower and reduces paperwork. Appreciate your favorable consideration of this measure.
Okay, don't see any questions on that. Thank you, sir. Chairman Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 419 came out of higher ed yesterday. This is a bill that deals with Narcan. As we all remember, I hope that we passed a bill last year that put Narcan dispensers in government buildings. I removed colleges and technical universities and technical colleges. I do the fact that they did not know how many numbers or locations of buildings with AEDs. So this bill now addresses putting those in the universities and colleges. This is a very important bill. It only takes 5 minutes for brain cells to start to die on an overdose. So it's very imperative that these young folks have this drug.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Don't see any questions. Chairman Linson.
House Bill 511's on the blue sheet, page 9, fifth from the bottom. This is a piece of model legislation that comes from the National Council of Insurance Legislators. I would note that several of our surrounding states have already passed this. Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and South Carolina, and several other states are considering it this session. And in light of the storms and things that we have experienced here in Georgia recently, it simply puts another tool in the toolbox for our citizens. It deals with the reduction of one's taxable income by way of a catastrophic savings account, which can be used in a declared catastrophic event. Works much similar to a health savings account. It can be a regular savings account or a money market account, but it's got to be designated as a catastrophic account, and it can only be applied for one's individual home.
Okay. Don't see any questions. Thank you, sir. Chairman Jaspers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two bills. House Bill 248, the geothermal tax credit. It's on page 8. And additionally, today I have on page 6, House Bill 604. It's a bill that's come from my community and that those around me. It will give the local election superintendent the ability to do a hand accounting, not a recount, but a hand accounting of all ballots cast in one race. It is very permissive for the superintendent, and it allows them to terminate it immediately if they so seen that it was interfering with the normal counting of ballots. Where it comes from is when a community wants to do a hand accounting or recount, there's no letter of the law that allows them to do this, and so local attorneys choose to rule against it and not allow the election boards to do it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Don't see any questions. Is that everybody on the committee? Okay. The speaker's been fussing at me because we've been getting in there late, and I told him we were going to make up for that today. So we're not going to add anything to the calendar this morning. We've got about 20-something bills that are on the calendar already. I would expect to be talking with you later on around lunchtime. So just hang around. It's going to be a long day. So let's all be on our best behavior and have a good day. Thank you.